If we were reading the tea leaves, you probably thought something might have been in the works. And if we talk about those Cleveland Browns as an organization, they get an F. But they have one of the best players we've ever seen on defense and the ultimate sack artist here in Myles Garrett. Now, I always thought it was interesting where Myles Garrett took a hardline stance. Show what, 2 years ago? I'm not playing for Cleveland anymore. His team stinks. The organization stinks. I demand a trade. And then Jimmy Haslam goes, what if I pay you more money than anybody else? Psh, love it. Cleveland, awesome. I want to stay here. But then again, how many times have we saw this playbook? Let me make sure I get more money than anybody else can possibly pay me. Then when I get it, I'll put up record-breaking numbers and then maybe behind the scenes say now's the time to look for a trade. But we didn't actually hear that. But you know what's interesting, Joe, in the offseason? Cleveland made a slight tweak to that contract for Myles Garrett, and beat writers picked up going like, wait a second. This isn't really moving money around, but this actually makes him easy to trade. And the Browns go, no. Just bookkeeping. Don't you dare read into this. Fast forward to yesterday, Joe, June the 1st. Myles Garrett on the move from the Cleveland Browns to the Los Angeles Rams for Jared Verse, a 2027 first-round pick, a 2028 second, and a 2029 third. The best pass rush in the NFL goes to L.A. to bolster that defense, and Cleveland gets a solid piece back and a lot of future capital, Joe. I think both teams won in this equation.
Yeah, it is a win-win. And, this is just more fallout from the whole, Deshaun Watson signing here, Donnie. This is all this is here. It's just, I don't know. When you're talking about Deshaun Watson as a possible starting quarterback this year, that tells you everything about the state of the Browns. And that's fine. I mean, listen, you're stuck paying him. But, it is time to cut your losses. We saw Denver do this a couple of years ago, right? When Sean Payton came in, $85 million in dead money, they're like, you got to go. Like, we have to hit the reset button. Yes, it should have been done earlier, but it's not too late to hit the reset button. And finally, the Browns have decided now's the time. And by the way, I mean, he didn't even meet with the new head coach, by the way, because you didn't hire his DC who he wanted as head coach. If he had, Garrett probably would not have wanted to leave. But since you did, he was looking for a new destination. Boy, did he get an upgrade in destinations here, Donnie. My goodness.
Pushing your chips to the center of the table. That's what the Los Angeles Rams are doing here. And if you take a look at some of the sports books out there with team totals for the Rams, they took a shot yesterday. Why? Because they got the best defensive player in football to come over to an already talented team with the MVP in Matthew Stafford and dominance across the board and a great head coach. You take a look at the Rams win total here. The 11.5 sticks out, Joe, to the over. It's juiced at -130 here. 12 wins expected for the Rams. That is a talented division here, Joe. But after getting that bolster, you already probably liked the Rams as you looked at them. Now you give them an absolutely outrageous defensive end. Sky's the limit for the Rams in 2026.
Well, and they saw what we all saw, Donnie. They had issues with the secondary. And when Sam Darnold is picking you apart, you got issues. So they addressed those. But the other big issue, Donnie, was they couldn't get to Sam Darnold. They couldn't get any sacks. And as good as Jared Verse is, and he's a he's going to be in this league for a while, they couldn't get to the quarterback. If you can't get to the quarterback, that's a problem. And they just solved that problem as well. So the defensive side of the ball is going to be much better than the version we saw a year ago.
NFC West going to be absolutely out of control. But let's hear a little snippet here from the Super Bowl champions head coach in McDonald.
I don't know. Bro, I really don't care. I don't care. I just care where we're at. It's not trying to be a chotch, but just don't care.
As he says, he's being a child. He is, and you should care because the best defender just went into your division to try to stop your back-to-back Super Bowl run. I like what he's going like, hey, I worry about myself over here, but that's a big deal. Ask Mike McDonald, say, hey, what would be better for the Seattle Seahawks this year if Myles Garrett stayed in Cleveland and went to L.A.? That'd be a different question. But look at the odds here. Rams are the favorite, plus 100. 2-1 behind them is the Seahawks, who just won the Super Bowl. That's how much people are looking at that roster for the Rams going like, that's the team to beat, Joe.
So let me see if I get this straight here.
Yeah.
You now have gone from not having to face the best defensive player in the NFL that will wreck wreck your Sam Darnold quarterback and offense, you've got to now play him twice a year, and you don't care. You don't care that Myles Garrett's going to live in your backfield for 2 games? Okay, well, let's see if he cares when they play him, Donnie.
You know who cares? Sam Darnold. He cares that Myles Garrett's in that division. That's the only thing that matters. Exactly. Now you got the ultimate sack artist on the opposite. And also, you always talk about like Cleveland. Cleveland never has the lead at the end of the game. This guy's going to have his ears pinned back the entire fourth quarter, looking to break quarterbacks in half. Should be a lot of fun to watch. For me, again, as an Eagles fan, don't really love this, but hey, sometimes you got to respect the hustle here, and the Rams are on it. Now, from a Cleveland Browns perspective with that move, Jared Verse, good defensive end, first-round pick, second-round pick, third-round pick coming your way. Chance to find your quarterback and continue to tank, which the only way to get better sometimes is to rack up those draft picks here, save some capital on the salary cap, and then go all in when you figure you're back on the upswing. This year, not going to be on the upswing, Joe. Minus 110 both sides, the Cleveland Browns. Win total, 5.5 games, which means you're probably looking at 6-12, whatever it would be. I mean, ouch, man, that is brutal at this point. 6-11, awful. What is that about?
You're telling me, Donnie, basically, is the Browns are going to be the Browns again this year. But they will be the Browns again. They had a ton of draft capital this year, right? This is a very young team. If they can find a quarterback they can trust and they can actually rely upon, then yes, Monken and company will have, the future will be bright. It's not going to take 5 years to rebuild, Donnie. I mean, they had 5, 6 draft picks in the first couple of rounds this year. We'll see how those plan out. You're going to have a boatload more over the next. It should not take that long for the Browns to recoup and get going here.
So funny, too. I can't even do the math on like a 17-game season. We look at like 4.5 or 5.5 wins. Like, what does that even come out to be at this point? You know what it comes out to? The Cleveland Browns going to be really bad. Other news yesterday that we were waiting on. I almost need a standing ovation from J.Brown, the Philadelphia Eagles, and the New England Patriots. The rumblings have been out there for months here. Oh, here's what it is. Here's what it's not. Adam Schefter has been reporting for the past couple weeks. It's probably going to be a 2028 first-round pick. But we have beat writers coming out as of yesterday, like Josina Anderson. Deal's not done. We don't think it's going to be a 1. And it comes out, of course, it's a 1 at this point. These guys shook hands, Joe, months ago and just said, don't tell anybody about this and everything will be fine. Because the one thing we know about the NFL, Joe, they don't like litigation. They don't want surprises here. Can you imagine if this trade was agreed to a month ago and the Eagles backed out of it and sent A.J. Brown to the Rams out of nowhere when the Patriots thought they had that? The Eagles drafted their wide receiver. The Patriots didn't draft their wide receiver on, draft night, whether it's, first round, second round, or third round there. This was interesting, but the deal went down. A.J. always wanted to be a Patriot. Now he's a Patriot. The Eagles moved forward, drafted their first round wide receiver, and got compensation back in the future. A.J.'s happy again. The Eagles got some decent draft compensation, and away you go. But I will say this. It's hard to replace number 1 wide receivers in the NFL. Now, if the Eagles think his knee might be bulky, that's one thing or another. But a guy in his prime that demands double coverage, that helps your entire offense, Joe. That's not going to be in Philadelphia anymore.
Yeah, I mean, 6'1", 6'2", 225 wide receivers don't grow on trees, Donnie. So he is a game changer. And for a young quarterback like Drake May, who made it all the way to the Super Bowl here, and Josh McDaniels is going to figure out ways to get him involved a lot this year. So, yeah, it's great for both teams, Donnie. It's time, it was time to move on from Philly. They got in return, and congrats, Patriots. You got your number 1 receiver.
Wide out your maniacs, Joe. This guy went to 2 Super Bowls, was lighting the board up, might have gone down as the best wide receiver in the history of the Philadelphia Eagles here. And he's like, you know what? I want the football more. Super Bowls be damned. That's the wide receiver. But you know what? He's getting 10 to 15 targets every game in New England. Why? That's why he wanted to go there, people. Oh, man, the NFL 2026 season. We're close, people. We'll be right back after the break. Let's get into the early lineup and some of those hot topics, Joe, which, none hotter than yesterday in the end. It's June, Joe. We're talking NFL blockbuster city trades. Myles Garrett from the Cleveland Browns to the Los Angeles Rams. Jared Verse comes over here, a future number 1, a future number 2, and a future number 3 on the way. The Rams get their high-flight, top-ready pass rusher, and the Browns looking to hit that reset button with extra young draft capital.
Yeah, listen, this was the big one yesterday because it just took the Rams from I still don't know about that defense, too. Yep. All right. They're the favorites to win it all. I mean, both sides. They've got the offense. They got one of the best head coaches. And now they have not only a defense that can rush the quarterback, Donnie, they improved the secondary, got a shutdown corner. They did everything they were supposed to do. I just don't know why more organizations and teams don't do this in the NFL.
Yeah, like it's a bad thing to get the best player on defense in the NFL. But like, even though the San Francisco 49ers didn't win a Super Bowl, they got to one. But do you remember, Joe, like Christian McCaffrey for like a second-round pick? Oh, my God, Carolina stole. Oh, you think Carolina stole that deal? Like, where do we ever get the notion of, like, you're handing over really good players for prospects and you like the prospects better than the really good proven player? Come on, Rams. Win another. You already won one doing this. If they win another one, sometimes you got to change the aspects of the way you do business. When it's time to win, go all in. That's what your fan wants, and that's what the right thing to do is. The Philadelphia Eagles, they went all in a couple years ago, got A.J. Brown for a first-round draft pick, turned out to be 2 Super Bowl appearances, 1 Super Bowl championship. Sometimes wide receivers are crazy. Even though you're winning Super Bowls and making deep playoff runs, wide receivers want the football. They want to win, but they want to win on their own terms. Yeah, we won because I had 10 catches, 138 yards, and 2 scores. When you win and have 3 catches and 33 yards, that doesn't work out so well. New England needed a number 1. They got a number 1. The Eagles got the compensation they were looking for back and looked to move forward without A.J. Brown. Big deal yesterday. The New England Patriots, looking to try to get back to the Super Bowl, add some firepower.
Listen, we knew it was happening, Donnie. Everybody knew it was happening. It wasn't a matter if, just a matter of when. And now, listen, at 30 years old, he's certainly got a couple of more years in him, and that gives New England finally, and they didn't have this last year and somehow made it to the Super Bowl, but a legit number 1.
Yep.
That's with Josh McDaniel calling the plays. This is going to be interesting this year.
Yeah, when good football teams get better by adding good players, it usually makes some sense. I understand. Schedule much harder for New England this year, but it helps to have a number 1 wide receiver to help out your young quarterback here. Russell Wilson set to retire from the NFL and head to the booth to make even more money. He's a personality, corny at times, but certainly he does know the game.
Yeah, such an unfortunate situation. Hopefully there's time for him to unretire, so to speak, and sign with the Jets. It's the only team I know of that offered him a contract, Donnie, but it would be great to get him and Geno in there, win 3 games, secure that number 1 pick next year, and we move on. Much like the Rams, Donnie. I mean, the Jets could be the Rams if they weren't the Jets.
People like nostalgia, Joe. I understand that. Odell Beckham Jr. has not been relevant since he tore his knee in the Super Bowl years ago. Trying to make his way around, it feels like he chased down the New York Giants and their head coaching staff, as well as their general manager and their owner for months. Please. And by the way, he does get signed by the Giants, but I would like to look at the details. Is he actually paying the Giants to play for them at this point, Joe?
No. I mean, listen, it didn't stop at that. They wanted to go completely AARP. They went Juju Smith-Schuster, too, Donnie. I mean, they're just every old receiver off the scrap heap. Come on down to the – I'm sure Jackson Dart's like, wait a minute. You're telling me Malik Neighbors is not going to be healthy enough, ready to go, but you gave me Odell Beckham and Juju Smith. All right, sounds like I'm going to be throwing the ball a lot this year.
Fans love nostalgia. You're going to get a little bit of that there with OBJ back there for those New York Giants. Roger Goodell going to testify in front of Congress to tell us why we have to charge more money to the people out here to watch this product. And we still want our anti-exemptions here across the board, huh?
This dog and pony show cracks me up, Donnie. Like, this is going to change. And this just gives politicians an opportunity to be like, you're bad, NFL. How dare you? How dare? And then ultimately the prices go up this season, Donnie. You watch.
The NFL sometimes says we'll take center stage any day that we absolutely like it. Talking over the past couple months, the expectations was A.J. Brown was going to be out of town. Early on in the process, like, this is probably just chatter. And then all of a sudden, when everybody went radio silent, you knew something was going to happen. But, Kevin, before we talked about A.J. Brown, lightning bolt struck yesterday. Myles Garrett from Cleveland to Los Angeles sent everybody in a tizzy. What were your initial thoughts when you heard this trade went down?
Yeah, wow. I mean, I think it was a stunning move just because it happened so quickly. I know there was a bit of scuttlebutt in the morning that, Myles Garrett could be out of Cleveland. We all remember when they reworked the Myles Garrett contract, and pretty much the only reason to do that was so they could trade Myles Garrett. And I think you have this pretty rare situation. Like, I like to play the game, if you will, right? Like, sometimes a trade comes out and people are like, we'll see if it works out for them. Like, no, tell me if you think it's going to work out for them. The Rams thing is a true pass or fail situation. Did they win the Super Bowl? Good trade. Did they not win the Super Bowl? Bad trade. I think it is actually that simple. They are almost acting as if there is no league coming at the end of this season, which is why the clear and obvious take is the Ty Simpson pick is one of the worst picks you've ever seen a franchise make. And I feel like them going in for Myles Garrett is almost as if they're still trying to make up to Stafford, McVay, and the fans for the Simpson pick. Maybe like, no, we promise. We're all in. Look, here's Jared Verse and 3 picks out the door for Myles Garrett.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you got to love the all-in mentality, though, because so many franchises don't have this, Kev. They don't have this gene. They don't have the front office mentality. They did it 5 years ago. So why wouldn't they do it again if given the opportunity? So, Les Snead and Myles, they probably don't agree on everything, but the reality is currently constructed right now, they're the favorite, and good luck, Seattle, because having Myles Garrett rush the quarterback on a Rams team is a lot different than Jared Verse, is it not?
It's different. I don't know if it's like a lot different. I'm being like, maybe that's crazy out of me. Myles Garrett is better. Jared Verse is really good. Like, they didn't address an area of weakness. They upgraded, and they were already the favorites. I agree with you, though. I like the all-in mentality because they trust their quarterback-coach combination. And maybe more than anything, they trust their coach, right? Like, the salary cap and the picks can all come due and put you in a bad spot unless you have a rock star head coach who can probably make do with just about anything, is at least the thought in Los Angeles. And it probably is why teams, like Buffalo or Baltimore or whomever it may be, should be more aggressive. The thing is, I don't know how many other teams could have made this trade. The Browns were adamant in getting back Jared Verse, right? So a pretty much established all-pro level talent with multiple years left on his rookie deal. Like, Donnie, I think some people were mentioning, what about Jalen Carter, right? In Jared Verse's spot, Jalen Carter's too far along. I mean, compared to Jared Verse. Like, I think Carter versus is an interesting conversation, but not when you talk about value to the franchise.
Yeah, certainly a guy that can certainly take over and dominate. I thought both of those teams made out well where, you probably overpaid a little bit for Myles Garrett, but the goal is to win a Super Bowl. You're not worried about overpaying a couple picks here if you get the job done. In Cleveland, who never should have had Myles Garrett on that roster the past couple of years, and should have never have re-signed him here, they end up getting out of that here, so I think it worked out for both. Now as we switch over to the Philadelphia Eagles and A.J. Brown, the worst-kept secret in the NFL, that the Patriots and the Eagles had a deal worked out, and a lot of, as they call them, bozos out here in the process. Oh, no way, it's going to be a 1, and it's still the door is wide open. You really think that if we would have had a deal like A.J. Brown wasn't going to be traded soon to the Patriots, where you were going to ship him off to, let's just say, Arizona, and that was going to be fine? You knew that deal was in place, but understand this too. A.J. Brown is wild. And Kevin and I do a lot of shows talking about A.J. Brown and his antics there, where the wide receiver mentality is so much different than everybody else. Like in college, I played on a bad football team. You know what I loved? Every fourth quarter, we were throwing the football. There were some games that we lost, and I would have like 10 catches for $140 and 2 scores. I'd be like, that feels pretty good. Let me go tell the people about what I did. And there were games we won, Kevin, 1 catch, 9 yards. I'm like, yeah, we won, but boy, it would have been more fun if I had more catches, and we won this. A.J. Brown was in Super Bowls, scoring touchdowns, getting as many targets as he wanted, but there were games mixed in where, hey, the Eagles are unbeaten their last 6-7 games, but AJ's unhappy because he's not winning his way. It's just the way it goes down. He'll go to New England, Kevin. He's going to get 15 targets a game. But what did you think when it finally all went down yesterday where A.J. Brown went to New England?
Yeah, I mean, the Eagles completely worked the Patriots. So here's I saw a respected Eagles beat reporter try and downplay the return here. what world are they living in? Again, it's people were saying, oh, I don't know if A.J. Brown goes for a first-round pick. Everybody knew the Eagles were done with A.J., and A.J. was done with the Eagles, and Philly was like, yeah, we can't trade him until June 1st. And the Pats are like, okay, give us a call. We'll be here, whatever you want. Oh, because the Eagles have to wait for the 28 draft pick instead of the 27 draft pick. First of all, the 26 draft pick is what New England wanted to give up because it was 31st overall. Newsflash, it's probably not going to be pick 31 or 32 in 2028. And it's more likely it's a bad pick in 2028 than in 2027. So the Eagles dictated the terms while having zero leverage. That's A-plus work, as always, out of Howie. Pat's backs were against the wall because of the Mike Vrabel situation. They had to back their guy.
You would think Coven hosted a football show called Pro Football Today. Well, he does on the SportsGrid Network, but catch him tonight in-game live with Gabriel Morenz. Teams getting better out here. Teams making questionable moves. It's the NFL, and every single day is the NFL's day. But I always like to say, Joe, in the month of June, you get that calm before the storm. We got a big-time storm on June the 1st, and then you'll wait, and everybody goes on vacation. It stays quiet before we show up to training camp, which for me, football season starts in July, and we are 1 month away from that. Big things doing this week as well, Joe, as we pointed out. NHL going to have the Stanley Cup Finals. NBA going to have the Finals. The World Cup starts next week, and that's going to carry us through there to the All-Star break in Major League Baseball. But, Joe, it's the time of the show we like to reach out to the public, see what they're talking about. Here's our Fade the Public poll. Hot topic yesterday, trades in the NFL, none bigger than Myles Garrett from the Cleveland Browns to the Los Angeles Rams. We asked the question, what are your thoughts on the Myles Garrett trade to the Rams? Me, Joe, I voted, I hate the Rams. 12.5% is what the live number is. We were at 33% a little bit before. I couldn't care less. This can't be happening. I'm happy for him. How about that, Joe? Nobody says this can't be happening. Why? Because I guess it happened.
Well, I think it did happen here, Donnie, and I think it's, listen, kudos to him, man, for getting out of Cleveland, and kudos for Cleveland for figuring it out that, you know what, we're probably not winning with Garrett since he can't throw the ball and play offense. So, yeah, it's time to hit the reset button here. But they're still going to fail in epic ways, Donnie, and I am all for it. I can't wait to see the Browns still be atrocious here.
Is it going to be Watson? Is it going to be Shador out there? Dylan Gabriel? We'll find out. But the one thing we probably know is they're headed for a last-place finish once again in the AFC North. PME right here on TEL. Let's get to the NFL because the news yesterday was shocking. The A.J. Brown news to the New England Patriots. We'll get to that in just a little bit. Not so shocking here. We thought that was going to happen. What we didn't think was going to happen, that Myles Garrett also would be traded on June 1st. And the place he was traded to, the Los Angeles Rams, Joe, going all in. So if we take a look at the Rams on the Kalshi marketplace and their win total for 2026, you are paying an absolute premium here. And as I scroll down, Joe, you're actually a $100 investment to get 12 or more wins. Doesn't even give you back $200 even. You're paying a little bit here at a $189 price point now, Joe. The sky is the limit, it feels like, for the Rams. But we know injuries and a long season do play into it. Sure, they might do some damage. But I don't know if I want to pay technical juice on a 12-win season, Joe. But those are the expectations.
Yeah, and the problem is, Donnie, at this point in the game, there is no value in backing them to go over this number here. I mean, it's a long season. There's no reason to jump in now. What I would hope for is maybe a early season loss, Donnie, something along those lines that you can jump in at a better number. But this is not a market where I'd say, yeah, run in. You either fade the Rams win total at this point or you wait till the season starts and maybe they get a early loss or two along the way and you can jump in at a better price. I do think they're a long-term bet that you have to consider for ultimately winning everything. But, you know, at this price, Donnie, there is no value in them.
No value here, but value sometimes, Joe, in the eye of the beholders. You take a look at the Cleveland Browns. Do you expect expectations to be higher? No, they're going to be lower when you trade away your best football player. But you got a good pass rusher back. You got some future capital. Does that translate into wins this year? And also remind ourselves, a new head coach coming in and a new regime. If you look now, 7+ wins is currently at 42% now for the Cleveland Browns. A yes contract is 42 cents. The no is 61 cents. I don't think Cleveland, to be honest, Joe, is getting 7 wins this year, nor do they maybe want to get that. So a no contract, which means 6 wins or less, a $100 investment pays back $164. I don't have high expectations on the Cleveland Browns, meaning I don't think they're going to be anywhere near 500 this year, Joe.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And I think it's rebuild mode. I think that's how they're approaching it here. I think they'll be competitive. I also don't think the AFC North, Donnie, is going to be some sort of juggernaut, although it does look like the Ravens are still priced at about 11.5 wins this season. But I still think that, getting to 500 is going to be a monumental task for the Browns. I still think fading. And now, again, even with Myles Garrett, Donnie, what'd they win? 6-7 games? It's to expect them to do better without him. I don't see it here.
Jared Verse, 25 years old, very good pass rusher here. He comes back, so you have a viable component even after losing back on Myles Garrett. But the quick turnaround could happen, Joe. Look at 2027, the draft picks here for the Cleveland Browns. 2 1s, a 2, a 3. Looks like 3 4s, 2 5s, and a 7th year. You can start that rebound, but as we know, Joe, you need the quarterback to catapult it. Could it be Shador? Could it be Dylan Gabriel? Do you ever rebirth that quarterback from a player you traded for and gave a couple of $100 million in Mr. Deshaun Watson? But maybe, Joe, it happens sooner than later.
Listen, you got to have the assets, right? You got to have the capital in order to be able to do it. The biggest question mark here, Donnie, with the Browns is the same question mark it's been for the last 30 years. You have to find a quarterback you believe in. So whether that means now it's going to happen in what is going to be the most quarterback-rich draft we have seen in a very long time, whatever that may be, if it's Sanders, whatever, but you're going to have to find one. And before you do, Donnie, you can't really rebuild without building with that first block, which we all know has escaped them over the last 30 years, is finding that franchise quarterback.
Exactly. The team to make the first overall pick in 2027 in the draft. This is an interesting one here. The yes contracts, Joe, will tell you. Arizona at 36 cents. Miami also at 36 cents. The New York Jets at 34 cents. Vegas at 30 cents. And Cleveland at 28 cents. But you know, as the best chances listed here, Kansas City at 45% and Pittsburgh at 40%. Now, what are we dealing with here? A knee injury to Patrick Mahomes, which looks like he's getting healthier and should be there week number 1, and Pittsburgh with Aaron Rodgers. Could these seasons completely go sideways and they tank out to get their future started? Those are interesting numbers, but the prevailing wisdom is bad football teams stay bad. Miami, Arizona, New York, and the Las Vegas squad here, which again, Las Vegas just drafted their future quarterback. Would they still bottom out with Kirk Cousins? Interesting look for the Raiders here.
Yeah, it is an interesting look for the Raiders, but I still think the Arizonas of the world, the Jets of the world, I think there's going to be a level of, futility here that is going to be over the top. Yeah. And it would not shock me at all if one of those two teams, and there's only a handful of teams, Donnie, I believe, that have no primetime games this year on the schedule. The NFL looked at them, including the Jets, including the Cardinals, I think the Browns, and all looked at them and said, yeah, we are not going to subject the entire world to anything in a standalone game like that. One of those teams is likely going to have that number 1 pick.
Now, the Philadelphia Eagles made a big trade with A.J. Brown. You don't get better when you trade a great wide receiver away, but they did get some draft capital back. But still, very good defense here. A lot of weapons on offense. And certainly if that offensive line could stay healthy, they could do some damage. We look at their win total, Joe. 10-plus wins, which means a 10-7 season. The yes contract is 65 cents. A $100 investment only pays back $154, but a big divide between 10 and 11 wins, Joe. You go 11 wins, that contract goes from 65 cents at 10 to 44 cents here at 11. Seems like they're factored in right around 10.5, Joe.
Yeah, listen, we talked about it, Donnie. I think win-win situation here for both teams. Although we are a little less uncertain. We know what he brings to the table, A.J. Brown, certainly what he's going to mean to New England. But you do have a rookie. You drafted it as A.J. Brown's replacement in Philadelphia. Yeah. You still have pretty much all the other pieces in place. It would make sense that I would expect a that next step to happen for Philadelphia here this season.
And by the way, A.J. Brown, I didn't get the ball enough in Philadelphia. 4 seasons, 339 catches, 5,000 yards receiving, 32 touchdowns, Super Bowl champion, played in 2 of those, scored a touchdown in each one of those, and also a 3-time All-Pro. Not a 3-time Pro Bowler, a 3-time All-Pro. Topics continue. Prediction markets edge on the early line. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Joe Ranieri, 4 teams are in the AFC East. 2 of them won't factor into the division standings this year. That's the Miami Dolphins and the New York Jets. The 2 teams looking for vying for top spot, it's the Buffalo Bills and the New England Patriots. And the reason why we bring this up is A.J. Brown to the New England Patriots. Does that change the balance of power, which you saw last year, go to New England? But apparently the chances, Joe, not the same. 58% as a chance for the Buffalo Bills to win the AFC East. New England Patriots at 38%. Is there value on the Patriots here, or is it hard to go from the Super Bowl second place to making it back to the Super Bowl, which includes winning your division?
Yeah, listen, I think if you like the Bills, right, you like the Bills not only to win the AFC East, but you're also betting them to win the AFC altogether. And I think the Ravens are in that category as well, that if you like them to win the AFC championship, then you certainly like them to win the AFC North. I think all of that is correlated. So the question is, do you trust New England or some other team in the AFC, the Chiefs? Do you trust any of them to make it, finally make a bounce back and take it to the next level? I don't exactly here. I do think the long shot value in the AFC is obviously the Chiefs, but a lot still has to be determined with the injury here to Patrick Mahomes.
This is fantastic stuff as it plays out, too, because the AFC Championship winner, so many times we take a look at sports like there's a runaway team or runaway 2 teams. That's not the case, Joe. Buffalo, 15% chance. Kansas City, 14%. Baltimore, 13%. Chargers, 12%. 2 teams at 10%, and down the line we go. But Buffalo, the slight favorite in the AFC for a team, Joe, that has never gotten over the hump, it feels like, with Josh Allen to get at least into the Super Bowl here.
Yeah, and some changes there in Buffalo. Yeah. So, I mean, not the same voice in the locker room anymore. And how is that going to play out? I mean, as long as you have Josh Allen under center, you're giving them a chance. But now Patrick Mahomes is back, and now you've got, what is Lamar going to bring to the table? Is he finally going to be healthy enough to finish the year with a new head coach? A lot of question marks in some of these teams.
How about these question marks, Joe, in the NFC now? We saw yesterday the trade, which went Cleveland, and Myles Garrett said, okay, you got your new home in sunny Los Angeles here, and now you're seeing a surge of the Rams price point here. They're up to 24% to win the NFC Championship, which is up 8% just from yesterday alone. Seattle, Detroit, Green Bay, and Chicago. Now, when we talk about the marketplace, Joe, like, hey, you might like the Rams. Well, now you're playing a premium here, which means, Joe, do we have value on the teams behind them that are now trading at lower prices?
Yes, Donnie, because Myles Garrett made the Rams more dangerous. We know that, but he also made the entry into backing them even more expensive here. So, markets don't pay you for loving the move. They pay you for getting there before anybody else does. So unless you got in prior to the Myles Garrett trade news yesterday, it's too late. The only markets worth considering then are fading some of the other teams, Donnie, the Seattles of the world, right? Or the 49. Some of the other teams in the NFC, I'd be looking at maybe some no contracts in those markets.
How about the Dallas Cowboys? You think they're finally going to break through and get to at least an NFC Championship game? $100 investment pays back $1,112. If the NFC champion is actually the Dallas Cowboys, been since the mid-1990s since that's happened here. But also, Joe, the 2027 Pro Football Champion. Who's going to raise the Lombardi? And once again, surging in the NFC standings as well as the Super Bowl standings. It's the Los Angeles Rams on the Kalshi Marketplace, a 17% chance, almost double, Joe, the team in second place, which is Seattle in their own division, followed by Buffalo, Kansas City, and Baltimore. For me, the Rams are so heavily favored, Joe, I probably don't look towards the NFC, but the AFC to find that value. Why? Because you got to beat the Rams. You got to play them in the Super Bowl here. And maybe that contract's already valuable in the AFC once you get to that point.
Yeah, and that's not a bad way to go. I mean, at this price point and entry for the Rams, we've pretty much lost the value. But that doesn't mean they're not going to win. Even if you wanted to bet them, Donnie, and you were going, hey, I like the Rams to win it all, I just don't like the price. Well, then bet they have to be NFC West champs. They have to be the NFC champs before they win it all. So, pick your spots here or begin to fade some of the other teams that the market might have overpriced as well.
Like, hard to get back, as we know. Like, we talked about that New England. Like, you got bounces and breaks, and you didn't even have to play like Bo Nix once you got to the AFC Championship game. Then they get J.Brown. It's like only a 5% chance for the New England Patriots to win the Super Bowl next year. Boy, it's hard in the NFL. You need a lot of breaks. You need a great schedule. You need to be healthy at the same time. Like teams like the Green Bay Packers, 4%. Houston, 4%. We're talking about playoff teams, Joe. 3, 4, and 5% here. A fun run it will be, but we're in the month of June here. Next month is July in training camps. August is then going into those preseason games. Then we find the first week of September into the regular season. We'll keep you covered on the prediction markets right here. Prediction Markets Edge on the early line. Enjoy the rest of the afternoon. See you tomorrow.